Hokage Hidden Ace, the time-traveling Hyuga who outshines Madara. Like, share, and subscribe. Episode 71. It is impossible to declare war, just fight and it will be over. Come again. With Katsuyu Sage and countless little Katsuyu around, as long as he didn't absorb too much natural energy at once, there would be no possibility of his whole body being petrified. Jingyi gritted his teeth and kept trying. Petrochemical. Come again. Petrochemical. Come again. More, fuck. Who said I have good talent? How many times were you petrified this night? Jing scolded her all the time, but Katsuyu Sennin was already stunned. Is Xiao Jingyi so brave? Why does it feel the same as Zayazuma's before? No, the progress is much faster than Xiao Zhujian. Maybe Jingyi has been petrified more times than Senju Hashirama, but the speed at which Jingyi absorbs natural energy is much more exaggerated than Senju Hashirama. It's just that none of these Katsuyu sages said anything. It quietly looked at Jingyi, who was starting to become anxious. I don't understand, I really don't understand. The progress is obviously so fast, why does Xiao Jingyi become anxious? Is this the nature of human beings? After Katsuyu Sage released the reverse channeling, Shizuchi returned to the rest room of the camp medical room. Looking at the bright sky, Jingyi lay softly on the bed. I'm exhausted. Sage Jutsu is indeed not practiced by humans. Recalling the experience of this night, Jingyi closed her eyes in a daze. Although it was embarrassing and tiring, it was still much better than Naruto. At least there was no need to risk the explosion of the chrysanthemum platform like Naruto, sit on the sharp peak of the mountain, and there was no need to eat a disgusting insect feast. It's just mucus, and it's not poisonous. Although it's a little uncomfortable, it also has the effect of moisturizing the skin. No matter how many people ask for it, it can't get it. Fortunately, there are not many patients sent today. Those who have been treated do not need to be watched quietly. The medical staff and other medical ninjas in the medical room will keep a close eye on them. Jingyi mainly develops detoxification agents and treats seriously injured patients. Otherwise, if he does this every day, he will die suddenly sooner or later. Is the work in the medical room so heavy? Nara Lushin was a little surprised when she saw Jingyi, who was listless and even had dark circles under his eyes. Boy, are you no good? You are so young, but you look more tired than an old man like me. If it weren't for the fact that the medical room was very calm and there were no gossips, and the relationship between Jingyi and Tsunade was on the surface, Nara Lu Xian would have doubted whether Jingyi was having sex with the medical girls in the medical department at night. Hooked up together. Don't mention it, it's all Tsunade's fault. Jingyi yawned, but still lacked energy. I have to work during the day, and I have to be dragged by Katsuyu Sennin to work overtime at night to study Sage Jutsu. My sleep time has been shortened to less than 4 hours. No one can handle this. It has been rolled up beyond description. Tsunadeheim? Nara was stunned. Jingyi waved his hands and said, there are some things I can't say. You just need to know that I have to work during the day and stay up late at night to practice. Oh well. Nara Lu Xian is not the kind of person who likes to ask questions to the end. Since Jingyi doesn't want to talk, he won't ask further questions. I came to you today to tell you that Chiyo, a member of Sand Shinobi Village's elders, has led reinforcements into the country of rain, and the situation will be even more severe next. Chiyo, the old woman, is already here? It seems that the medical room is very busy. I'm afraid that for a while, Jingyi will focus on cracking the poison and developing an antidote. Chiyo, an old woman, is too ruthless in her use of poison, and her speed in developing new poisons is also top-notch. If you can't keep up with her, you will easily suffer big losses. Nara Lushin came to Jingyi to remind him to be mentally prepared. But you must not let the chain slip, otherwise it will be difficult for everyone, especially Tsunadeheim. Huh. Yawning, Jing said, Senior, don't worry. With Orochimaru helping me, there shouldn't be any problem. Even if Orochimaru and I can't, I can contact Tsunade as soon as possible and send the samples. In the ninja world, there are countless ways to transmit messages and things, including the 8 gates. Even if Shizuchi can't figure it out, he can still send the new poison developed by Chiyo back to the village through Katsuyu, let Tsunade crack and develop the antidote, and then send it back. The speed is amazing, but the Katsuyas just need to run away. Then I'll be relieved. In other respects, Nara's heart is stable, but the poison developed by Chiyo is always a big threat to the ninjas in the village. As long as the poison is cracked, Chiyo's threat will be cut off by half. This is not an exaggerated adjective, but a real one. For those ninjas who are good at playing with poison, as long as you have the ability to crack his poison and then make an antidote, his ability will be cut in half. Take Sancho Hanzo, for example. Although his physical skills, swordsmanship, and teleportation skills are all top-notch, his most feared thing is undoubtedly the terrifying Sancho poison and his psychic beast Sancho. If he loses his poison and loses the psychic beast Sanchoyu Hanzo will instantly transform from a demigod to a shadow-level powerhouse on the threshold of ordinary people. They are both shadow-level experts, but the difference is astonishingly large. It's a pity that the poison of Sanzo fish is too strong. No one in the ninja world has yet developed an antidote. Even the poison itself is poisonous, and most people really don't dare to touch it. After getting the answer he wanted, Nara Lushin stood up and prepared to leave. By the way, the village will mobilize another group of medical ninjas and medical staff. The corresponding medical drugs, equipment, and medicinal materials will be sent over. You will be less stressed by then. Little shit. The patients he took over were basically those with serious injuries. Ordinary medical ninjas would not dare to take over, so he had to take over. Unless the medical ninja sent by the village is strong enough, it will be difficult to share the pressure on him. I hope so. Jingyi didn't hold out much hope. There are not many medical ninjas in the village, and most of them are known to Jingyi. There are very few medical ninjas who can share the pressure with him. Well, there are very few. So Jingyi no longer looks forward to reducing stress, as long as there are more medical ninjas. He is responsible for treating seriously injured patients and dispensing medicines, so he doesn't have to worry about other things. Judging from the current situation in the Kingdom of Rain, it is impossible for the war to stop. It's funny to say that the country of Rain is in chaos. The three major ninja villages of Konoha, Sand Shinobi Village, and Iwa Ninja Village have been beaten out of their wits in the country of Rain, and they also brought an affected Rain Shinobi Village with them. But the three major ninja villages had a tacit understanding and did not choose to declare war. Undeclared war is all about keeping silent and fighting, and that's it. Declaring war is impossible. Although Sand Shinobi Village took the initiative to provoke the war, Sand Shinobi Village did not want to bear the reputation of provoking the war. Konoha was originally a passive counterattack party, and it was impossible to actively declare war on Sand Shinobi Village. Episode 72. Hatake Tsukumo, if I had known that the club would die, I might as well have died on the battlefield. Iwa Shinobi Village, this one was even more unjust. They had no idea of participating in the war, and were completely dragged into the quagmire of war in the Rain Country by Sand Shinobi Village and Konoha. In addition, there is constant friction between Iwa Shinobi Village and Cloud Shinobi Village, and with the great enemy Cloud Shinobi Village eyeing them, it is impossible for Iwa Shinobi Village to jump out and declare war and fire the first shot. War can be fought, but war cannot be declared. After all, the first party to declare war is destined to suffer losses. It would be fine if we win, but if we lose, we will not only have to bear heavy war reparations, but we will not even be able to save our face. Therefore, even if the three major ninja villages beat the brains out, they would not take the initiative to declare war. As for Rain Shinobi Village? He's just a victim of the game between the three great ninja villages. Who cares about him? Speaking of which, Konoha has to thank Cloud Ninja Village and Third Raikage for the current situation in Rain Country. The Land of Fire is a big fat piece of meat. Sand Shinobi Village wants to pounce on it and take a few bites until its mouth is full of oil. Iwa Ninja Village also wants to. After all, Iwa Ninja Village is not much richer than Sand Shinobi Village. Sand Shinobi Village dared to take action, but Iwa Shinobi Village did not dare, because the threat of Third Raikage was too great. Over the years, conflicts have frequently broken out between Third Raikage and Inoki, leading to escalating friction between the two villages. It is normal for you to hit me today, and for me to hit you tomorrow. This is why, in the Second Ninja War in the original work, the Iwa Ninja Village only entered passively and evacuated the country of Rain in a hurry. Because Third Raikage stabbed Inoki in the back. Compared to Konoha and Sand Shinobi Village, Cloud Ninja Village is the biggest enemy of Iwa Ninja Village. Konoha will not easily launch a foreign war. Although Sand Shinobi Village and Iwa Ninja Village dislike each other, they will not take the initiative to launch a large-scale war against each other. The fundamental reason is that both sides are poor. Only the Kingdom of Fire has delicious fat meat, the kind that is sizzling with oil. Therefore, during the Third Ninja War, Inoki, who saw the opportunity, launched an attack on the Land of Fire without hesitation. Cloud Ninja Village and Mist Ninja Village were only tentative attacks. Coupled with the death of Third Raikage and the rapid rise of Xiao Huangmao, the experiments of the two villages could only end hastily. Here we can see how much contribution Xiao Huangmao made in the Third Ninja War. It happened that such a hero bumped into the third Hokage and a group of old and immortal guys who couldn't even grasp the basic rights of the Hokage. There was also Uchiha Obito, who stabbed his teacher in the back. Since becoming the Hokage, Xiao Huangmao has not been lucky. General bad luck. Backstabbed by the third Hokage, backstabbed by the elders, and backstabbed by his own disciples. Even Kakashi made a great assist. If he hadn't been able to control his mouth, Uchiha Obito would not have been able to determine the time of Kushina's delivery. Unable to determine the time, Uchiha Obito would not have dared to go to Konoha and mess around. Because he was not sure whether he needed to face Xiao Huangmao alone or Xiao Huangmao and his wife. If nothing happens to Xiao Huangmao and Kushina, the genocide of Uchiha will most likely not happen, because the couple has no prejudice against Uchiha. With the strength of the couple, even if the F4 team wants to cause trouble, they have to think carefully before doing so. To sum up, you will find that the fundamental reason for the dramatic change in Konoha's situation is that Hatake Kakashi can't keep his mouth shut. Lord Jingyi, there is a special wounded person sent from the frontline battlefield. I need you to see it in person. Oh? What special wounded person? Who cares what your identity is when you go to the battlefield? Well, this sentence is completely nonsense. Some people have special identities even if they go to the battlefield. Walking out of the restroom, he came to the operating room and took a quiet look at the person lying on the operating table. TSK, say Chow Chow, and Chow Chow's father is here. Ahem. Hatake Tsukumo's face was pale on the operating table and he kept coughing. He looked not in good condition. Senior, have you encountered any difficult enemies? Shizuchi stepped forward and checked Hatake Tsukumo's body. Hatake Tsukumo coughed and said. Ahem, bump, I met the Sanso fish, Hanzo, ahem, he is indeed very strong. As a senior who is slightly older than Tsunade and the others, Hatake Tsukumo's strength is obvious to all, and it is not an exaggeration to praise him as the leader of Konoha's new generation. And he is also the leader of the Hatake clan. No wonder the little nurse sister would say that there is a wounded person with a special status. It is strange that the leader of the Hatake clan has a special status. Shizuchi cut off Hatake Tsukumo's clothes and inspected the wound. Hatake Tsukumo's pale face began to turn red because there were a group of medical girls standing in the operating room, all of them looking at him with wide eyes. However, in order to conduct a more thorough inspection, Jingyi left no clothes for him, not even close-fitting ones. Ahem. Can you give me something to cover? Hatake Tsukumo was very embarrassed. If he were standing on the ground, he could probably dig out a 3-bedroom apartment with his toes. Sorry, I can't. Jingyi turned around and yelled at a group of medical and nursing girls who were watching the excitement and were not afraid of the other party's shyness. What's going on? Just look at it, why are you still talking about it? Have you never seen a man? Or is the Hatake leader older? What's going on? You guys, you call Jiraiya a pervert when he's holding a tent, and you watch it with gusto when Hatake Tsukumo is naked. Can you stop being so superficial as a human being? Hatake Tsukumo. Tired, destroy it. If he knew that such an embarrassing thing would happen when he returned to the camp, Hatake Tsukumo would rather die on the battlefield. It would be so embarrassing. After driving away the spectators, Jingyi continued to inspect. For stab wounds, deep wounds, and poison. Senior, you are lucky. Not many people can escape from this demigod. Don't underestimate weapons like scythes. The wounds left by scythes are more terrifying than ordinary ninja tools. Coupled with the extremely poisonous body of Sanshuyu Hanzo, TSK, Jingyi's words are not a joke. Being able to successfully escape from Sansho Hanzo and return all the way to the camp for treatment shows how powerful Hatake Tsukumo is. At this period, he and Sannin in the future are only in the period of rising strength, far from reaching the peak of strength. Senior's speed is very fast, and the poisonous gas he inhales is not much. Please be patient. The treatment process is just like that, removing the poison, cleaning the wound, and suturing the treatment. If the wound is too large, it cannot be healed directly by relying only on medical ninjutsu. After the treatment, Hatake Tsukumo fell into a deep sleep. After handing him over to the medical staff, Shizuchi returned to the rest room. As for whether Hatake Sakumo, who is young, rich, good-looking, and the patriarch of the family, will be taken advantage of by the nurse, that is not what Shizuchi can know. Episode 73. The conflict between Sand Shinobi Village and the Country of Rain intensifies. Fortunately, I can still drag my body with only half a life left back to the camp. Most people don't have such ability. The battle between Sannin and Sancho Hanzo wasn't so miserable, but don't forget that they were 3 people, while Hatake Sakumo was just 1 person. It's pretty good to get such results. Oh, it seems I should congratulate him. Orochimaru smiled playfully, and when Jingyi handed over a glass tube, he couldn't help but ask, a new type of poison? Jingyi sat on a chair, rubbing his aching temples. He went to work during the day, got off work at night, and was dragged to study sage jutsu in the middle of the night. It was not a good life. He was severely deprived of sleep and his mental state was not very good. It's not new. It was taken out of Sakumo-senpai's body and has something to do with Sancho fish. You should study this thing. After the words fell, Jingyi fell into sleep in less than 20 seconds. Orochimaru raised his head and wondered, is the work in the medical room already so busy? It doesn't feel like it. In other words, the sacrifice of people in the village is much greater than that of Konoha? When he first arrived at the camp, Chiyo needed to control everything in the camp and all the intelligence on the battlefield. Listening to the report from his subordinates, Chiyo's eyebrows were almost tangled together. So far, the 3 major ninja villages, Sand Shinobi Village, Konoha, and Iwa Ninja Village, have each invested nearly 1,000 ninjas in the Land of Rain. In the melee between several parties, the sacrifice ratio of Sand Shinobi Village was much greater than that of Konoha, which Chiyo did not want to see. The elements that were ambushed were sent out to fight head-on, and the sacrifice ratio was greater than that of other villages. What does this mean? Explain that the ninjas trained in Sand Shinobi Village are not as good as the ninjas of Konoha. It's strange that Chiyo would be happy. Picking up the record scroll and looking at it carefully, Chiyo suddenly sneered, Konoha's preparations are quite thorough, and all kinds of antidote potions have been arranged. Hateful. Is having a lot of money a big deal? If Sand Shinobi Village were so wealthy, would they still initiate a war? At this moment, Chiyo was envious and jealous. Among the 5 major ninja villages, there is no one who is more powerful in grassroots combat. However, in terms of grassroots combat, the ninjas who fight Konoha alone have a greater advantage, and Sand Shinobi Village takes advantage of small-scale combat. And if the number of people is slightly larger, the ninjas in Iwa Ninja Village will be more ferocious than anyone else. The Earth-style Legion's reputation is no joke. Many ninjas in Sand Shinobi Village are good at playing poison. Unfortunately, Konoha has put enough effort in this area. The arrangement of various antidote potions has invisibly eliminated one of the advantages of Sand Shinobi Village. The 2 sides were fighting, and it was difficult for Sand Shinobi Village not to suffer a loss. What does it mean that the village team disappears frequently? Chiyo's frown deepened. There is little good news in sight. No one would be happy. It's Rain Shinobi Village. The reporting ninja gritted his teeth and cursed, since the conflict escalated and turned into a war, the people in Rain Shinobi Village have been targeting us, especially Sancho Hanzo. The 3 great shinobi villages belong to the brawl mode, and the Rain Shinobi Village belongs to me and I can fight anyone. Among them, Sand Shinobi Village was targeted more severely because 3rd generation Kazekage wanted Sanho Hanzo to be a dog, and this humiliation to Sanho Hanzo was always in his heart. This old poisoner will have to look good sooner or later. Chiyo knew why Sand Shinobi Village was targeted. It was simply because 3rd generation Kazekage made Hanzo a dog. It was obvious that he was humiliating people. Sanshuyu Hanzo didn't explode on the spot, and the fight with 3rd generation Kazekage was considered to be bearable. Revenge after the fact is not surprising at all. On the surface, everyone in Rain Shinobi Village will fight, but in reality, they are more focused on Sand Shinobi Village, and Hanzo the Sanshuyu will be the one to fight in person. Since he wants to target the village, let's give him some response. If you don't fight back after being beaten, where does Sand Shinobi Village's reputation lie? Others are afraid of Sanshuyu Hanzo, but she is not afraid of Chiyo. As the saying goes, it is disrespectful to come and not go back, so Chiyo is going to give Sancho Fish Hanzo a big gift. If you don't like being treated like a dog and take revenge afterwards, don't blame us for being rude to Sand Shinobi Village. Konoha Camp. Jingyi, who had not slept enough, was called up and attended a meeting. Nara Lushin, who was sitting on the main seat, was holding a stick and pointing at the hung map. According to intelligence collected by the village, the conflict between Sand Shinobi Village and Rain Shinobi Village has begun to intensify in recent days. The circles on the map represent the villages and towns in the Kingdom of Rain. In just a few days, all the villages and towns in the Land of Rain were attacked and plundered by Sand Shinobi Village. Except for Damingfu and Rain Shinobi Village, all other places suffered. Sand Shinobi Village's revenge came very violently. Chiyo was not a kind person and directly led his people to attack the villages and towns in the Land of Rain. Except for Rain Shinobi Village and Damingfu, other places have suffered. If Rain Shinobi Village was not difficult to break and Damingfu could not be attacked casually, I am afraid Chiyo would not let these two places go. Now Rain Shinobi Village has completely turned into a hell on earth. Under this wave of revenge, the people of the Kingdom of Rain suffered countless casualties. Even if they were not killed, it would be difficult for them to continue to survive on the battlefield. When this happens, it can be said that the Kingdom of Rain has been destroyed. It's a mess, it's really a mess. The war that was supposed to take a few years to break out has been advanced a few years. Sancho Hanzo is still staring at Sand Shinobi Village. Sand Shinobi Village is not easy to mess with, and he goes back with crazy revenge. Danzo, you deserve to die, this is all your fault. It can be said that Shimura Danzo contributed a lot to all the changes in the situation. It was not that he wanted to get rid of Shizuchi and used information to win over Sancho Hanzo. Even if Konoha and Sand Shinobi Village provoked all kinds of provocations, the war would not be that bad. Explode soon. Without information, Sanshuyu Hanzo would not have approached Sand Shinobi Village to discuss cooperation. As a result, the cooperation failed, and instead, he was humiliated by the third-generation Kazekage. The humiliated demigod will definitely not let it go, and targeting Sand Shinobi Village is the best proof. On the surface, I will fight everyone, Konoha wants to fight, Iwa Ninja Village wants to fight, and Sand Shinobi Village wants to fight even more. Secretly, they are madly targeting Sand Shinobi Village. He obviously didn't do anything, but unknowingly, the ninja world was slapped hard by butterfly wings. What Sand Shinobi Village did is a bit excessive. War should not target civilians. Yes. If Sand Shinobi Village had any humanity, they wouldn't have started this war. Everyone yelled that Sand Shinobi Village is not a thing. Your own conscience won't hurt? Jingyi felt a little funny. Sand Shinobi Village is not a thing, so how can Konoha be better? Who do you think everyone here is? Jingyi is not a holy mother, but she just thinks this scene is funny. Episode 74. Hanzo declares war on the three major ninja villages. You must know that Konoha also has a share of the credit for the Rain country to become like this. If Konoha hadn't wanted to drag Rain Shinobi Village down, the country of Rain wouldn't have suffered. Orochimaru, who was sitting next to Shizuchi, had a faint smile on his lips, but this smile seemed to be more mocking. Noticing that someone was looking at him, Orochimaru turned around and looked at Shurzwa, and the two smiled at each other. Very good, everyone has the same concept. Since you have done it, you will not find any excuses for yourself and strive for a good reputation. What's going on with you two? While others are attacking Sand Shinobi Village, you two are the only ones laughing. If it were anyone else, Naralu Xian would immediately remind him to pay attention to the occasion. But he can't control Shizuchi and Orochimaru. Everyone. Nara Lushin raised his voice and interrupted everyone's debate. Sand Shinobi Village's revenge, in addition to targeting Rain Shinobi Village, is more for plunder. Don't forget their purpose of provoking the war. The next battle in the village will change from active to passive. I hope Rain Shinobi Village and Sand Shinobi Village can fight for a longer time. Since Sand Shinobi Village wants to retaliate against Rain Shinobi Village, let them retaliate harshly, and Konoha can just change its strategy and let them suffer first. Evacuation is definitely not possible. Once Konoha does this, Sand Shinobi Village and Rain Shinobi Village will definitely stop and no longer just stare at each other. After all, this war is a chaotic battle. Anyone who wants to quit being a fisherman will be targeted. The change in combat strategy has nothing to do with Jingyi. As a medical ninja, his mission is to stay in the camp instead of going to the battlefield to kill the enemy. Unless the enemy invades the camp, or Konoha is unable to fight anymore and the war is facing failure, Jingyi does not need to think about things on the battlefield. As for the innocent civilians in the country of Rain, it was not Jingyi's turn to sympathize with them. Again, Sand Shinobi Village is a big evil, so Konoha is also an accomplice. As an accomplice, he can sympathize with the victims. He cannot do this kind of thing at the same time. At this stage, the most important thing for him is to do his job well, hoard more puppets, and work hard to learn Sage Jutsu. Faced with the crazy revenge and plundering behavior of Sand Shinobi Village, the poison sac in Sanshuyu Hanzo's body almost exploded. He was so angry that he slapped the table hard and cursed. Damn old woman. Sancho Hanzo and Chiyo have known each other for a long time, and they dislike each other. You call me an old poisoner, and I call you an old woman. Sand Shinobi Village's revengeful behavior undoubtedly completely angered the demigod. And the price for angering the demigods is... What did you say? Jingyi almost thought he heard wrongly, raised his hand to dig his ears, and asked, Rain Shinobi Village declared war on us? Yes, not only we, but also Iwa Ninja Village and Sand Shinobi Village have declared war. Jiraiya, who had just come back from the battlefield to repair himself, scratched his hair that he had not washed for a long time and said sadly. I don't know what stimulated this demigod to declare war on the 3 major ninja villages. Isn't he afraid of being besieged by the 3 major ninja villages? Jiraiya still couldn't figure it out. My dear, Sanshuyu Hanzo still followed the old path of the original work. He knew that the situation was uncontrollable and tried to preserve his strength as much as possible. In anger, he declared war on the 3 major ninja villages. What is even more exaggerated is that under his leadership, the ninjas of Rain Shinobi Village frantically attacked the battlefield areas occupied by Konoha, Sand Shinobi Village, and Iwa Ninja Village. Facing the crazy Sanshuyu Hanzo, the people in the 3 great ninja villages were a little confused. No, how dare he? In the eyes of the 3 great ninja villages, Rain Shinobi Village is just a victim of the game, otherwise Konoha would not drag them into the water intentionally, and it is obvious that they look down on Rain Shinobi Village at all. With your size, you are not on the same level as us. Even Hanzo, the so-called demigod, will not be taken seriously. It can be seen when 3rd generation Kazekage humiliates him and treats him like a dog. From beginning to end, the 3 great shinobi villages never cared about the feelings and reactions of Rain Shinobi Village. As a result, this guy, who was regarded as a victim by the 3 major ninja villages, declared war on them. Instead of declaring war on one village, 3 villages declared war together and led ninja troops to attack them. Where does your Sanshuyu Hanzo get the courage? You don't really think you are a god, do you? In the original work, although Sancho Hanzo declared war on the 3 major shinobi villages, the effect was not as explosive as it was now, because in the original work, the war was declared because Rain Shinobi Village had reached the point where it could no longer bear it. By that time, the big fight between the 3 major ninja villages was almost over. What now? The war has just begun. The Sancho Fish Hanzo popped out. Not to mention, Sanshuyu Hanzo led Rain Shinobi Village to declare war on the 3 major shinobi villages, and then attacked the 3 major shinobi villages. In such a hurry, the 3 major shinobi villages suffered a heavy loss, especially Sand Shinobi Village. Although Chiyo took revenge on Rain Shinobi Village, she never thought that Sancho Hanzo's reaction would be so violent. Before she could make any preparation, the opponent would fight back. Our demigod is brave. Jingyi was silent for a while and gave Hanzo the Sancho fish a very brave evaluation. Apart from commenting that he was very brave, Jingyi really didn't know what to say. If it were him, he would definitely give priority to conserving his strength, and wait until the 3 major ninja villages are almost defeated before delivering a fatal blow. Anyway, the Kingdom of Rain has been beaten to pieces. If you jump out at this time, you will become the leader. It is better to wait until the 3 major ninja villages are almost beaten before taking action. The 3 major ninja villages kept silent in order not to stand out, and the war was declared undeclared. Well now, Rain Shinobi Village has broken the tacit agreement reached by the 3 major shinobi villages and brought the matter to light. Once the news spreads, I believe the entire ninja world will be shocked. Next, we will see how the 3 major ninja villages react. Faced with Rain Shinobi Village's declaration of war, if the 3 major shinobi villages did not do something, they would lose face to the village. In addition to the fact that the leader is already there, the next 3 major ninja villages can completely throw off their arms and start working. If you don't say that, please help me read my manuscript. Jiraiya had no idea about the situation, he was more concerned about whether his manuscript was up to standard. So when I returned to the camp, I ran to find Jingyi as soon as possible. Instead of taking a rest. Looking at the manuscript that was thrust into his hand, Jingyi's face was filled with question marks. Did you write these? Jiraiya nodded and said, "Of course, I think the story you told before is very good, so I added some content. Don't worry, when the book is published, you will have a share of the royalties." "No, I mean, when did you write it?" Jingyi didn't really care about royalties or anything like that. It would be nice if he could have it, and it didn't matter if he didn't have it. What he was curious about was where Jiraiya had the time to write a book. You know, he went to the battlefield instead of squatting in the camp and writing. It was just a while ago. What happened? Jiraiya looked confused. You are awesome. Others go to the battlefield to fight to the death and fight with the enemy. It's a good thing for you, Jiraiya, you went to the battlefield and you still have time to write a book, and you are the Emperor's uncle. I've finished writing today's update, and I'll write an additional update in a moment. My dears, please give me a free gift for the update. Happy Dragon Boat Festival, I love you. Episode 75. Jiraiya, it must be because my writing was so successful that Orochimaru is so angry. This isn't even the coolest part. You must know that it rains heavily all year round in the rain country. There are no tents for you to rest on the battlefield. You can basically just find a place to rest for a while wherever you go. Where do you find the time to write a book? Where did the creation come from? The manuscript is still clean and has not been soaked by rain. Shizuchi actually admired Jiraiya a little bit. For the sake of creation and writing about the Emperor's uncle, he was willing to sacrifice himself. He ran back all wet and immediately took out a stack of written manuscripts. How did he do it? Ah ha ha ha. Seeing Shirzua giving him a thumbs up, Jiraiya smiled sheepishly. It's up to you to decide whether you're good or not, that's all. I'll take a look at this manuscript. No, I'll judge it. Jingyi picked up the manuscript and read it carefully. After looking at it for a few times, he looked up at Jiraiya, then looked down at the manuscript. Jiraiya suddenly became nervous. Did I write poorly? The plot is still not coherent enough. I set up the plot of Bai Jiejia, an innocent young woman from the ninja world, very well. After reading a few pages, Jingyi decisively handed the manuscript to Jiraiya. The writing is very good. Come on. After you finish writing it, you can send it to the publishing house to try. I believe it will be popular in the ninja world. Jiraiya is indeed an expert in writing about the Emperor's uncle, and his writing is very good, but the first male protagonist is a bit familiar. Really? Jiraiya stood up in surprise, with his heart jumping to his throat. Yes, really, you have to believe in your own and my vision. If you don't believe me, show it to Orochimaru. Well, I'm going to find Orochimaru. After I finish writing it, I'll ask someone to send it back to the village. No, hiring someone is not safe. I'll ask Toad to help me send it back to the village and find someone to print and publish it. Taking the manuscript, Jiraiya ran away in a hurry. Jingyi raised his hand and rubbed his face to wake himself up. I hope this guy won't be beaten to death. He ran into the morgue and saw Orochimaru resting. Jiraiya deliberately showed a proud expression and handed the manuscript over. This is a new book I wrote. Jingyi said I could ask you to help me read it. New book? Didn't you enter the battlefield? Where is the time to write a new book? Like Shizuchi, Orochimaru also has such doubts. If Jiraiya asked him to help look at it, he would refuse directly and not even want to talk to him, but Jingyi asked Jiraiya to do it, and Orochimaru couldn't refuse, so he decided to take a look. After taking the manuscript, Orochimaru glanced at it a few times, and his dull expression changed instantly. Crack. Slapping the manuscript heavily on the table, Orochimaru exuded a terrifying aura. Please explain to me what is going on with this male protagonist named Orochimaru. Jiraiya explained, he is a genius. Like you, he is an all-rounder. To use Jingyi's description, he is a hexagonal warrior. Only such a strong person can attract Bai Jiejia's sexual interest. Don't you think it's great? It's just like you are exactly the same. Roll. Orochimaru kicked Jiraiya out. When you write about the Emperor's uncle, you use lousy as a reference to be the male protagonist, right? Orochimaru felt like he hadn't been this angry in a long time. Jiraiya is such a bastard, just write him as the male protagonist, and write it in such an ugly way. Don't be angry, return the manuscript to me. You bastard Orochimaru, my manuscript. Get out. Take this thing and get out. Don't be angry, I can share some of the royalties with you. Roll. The furious Orochimaru chased Jiraiya and beat him. Fortunately, the manuscript was not destroyed. Although Jiraiya was beaten, he was still very happy, despite his bruised nose and face. He thinks that the fact that Orochimaru is so angry proves that his writing is too successful. The characterization is very classic, so it stimulates Orochimaru's heart. Running to the headquarters in a hurry, Jiraiya asked eagerly, "Senior Liu Xian, do you have any tasks for me in the recent period?" "There is a mission, but I think it's better for you to rest for a while." Looking at Jiraiya with a bruised nose and swollen face, Nara suppressed the idea of issuing a mission. This kid is really miserable. He was beaten like this, and still thinking about the mission. That's great. I just need some time to finish my creation. Senior, I'm going back first. With the rest time, Jiraiya planned to write all the remaining manuscripts in one go and then send them to the village for printing and publication. Nara Liu Xian. There seems to be something wrong with Lord Hokage's disciple's mind. Should I report it to Lord Hokage? He randomly found an unoccupied tent and got into the tent. He didn't even bother to change his clothes. He took out paper and pen and started writing all the way down. He felt like he was overflowing with inspiration at this moment. The land of rain is not peaceful, and neither is Konoha. With Rain Shinobi Village declaring war, the ball has been kicked into the hands of the three major shinobi villages. The three major ninja villages, which were still scrupulous before, are now able to let go and fight. This is a situation that Sand Shinobi Village is happy to see, but Konoha is not happy with it. Konoha was originally passive in counterattacking, and it originally had a bad reputation of declaring war and provoking war. Now it's better. With Rain Shinobi Village challenging all this, Sand Shinobi Village no longer needs to worry about the bad reputation falling on itself. Everyone, Rain Shinobi Village has declared war on us. How should the village respond? Third Hokage has been so worried that a lot of his hair has fallen out recently. What kind of stimulation did you, Sanshuyu Hanzo, actually jump out to help Sand Shinobi Village take the blame? As for you. The war breaks out, and the Rain Country has become a victim. Sooner or later, it will be beaten to pieces, and then it will be looted by Sand Shinobi Village. You can't help it anymore? The third Hokage was very unhappy about this, because Konoha was very passive because of Hanzo's behavior. Since Rain Shinobi Village has the guts to declare war on us, as one of the 5 major ninja villages in the ninja world, we must fight back forcefully. Koharu, who was still in the hot-tempered stage, couldn't stand this anger. The land of rain has been plundered, why don't you go to Sand Shinobi Village and bring us Konoha with you? I really thought that our Konoha was a soft persimmon, so we directly declared war. I believe that Sand Shinobi Village and Iwa Ninja Village also hold the same idea. The dignity and bottom line of the 5 shinobi villages cannot be challenged. I agree with what Koharu said. Mito Kabuto, who rarely spoke at the meeting, expressed support. The kick was thrown into the hand. If he didn't fight back, it would only make people think that Konoha was afraid of Rain Shinobi Village. Fatty, what do you think? The third Hokage glanced at Akamichi Fongfong, who patted his bulging belly and said with a smile. What Koharu said makes sense. No matter what the reason is, since Rain Shinobi Village has declared war on us, the village must respond. But I suggest taking it slow. What's the meaning? You, Akamichi, know how to go against us now, don't you? Go to bed, Koharu was a little unhappy. Additional update is coming. The third Reikage was not written yet by Chanchan and has been revised. Thank you for your supervision. May you have a healthy Dragon Boat Festival. Episode 76. Umbu dares to hand it over? After Akamichi Tafu was pushed up and Inagacho was marked with Tsunade's mark, Akamichi Tafu has been fighting wits with them, opposing this today and opposing that tomorrow. The power in his hands has been weakened, which makes Koharu very dissatisfied. Now a gesticulating opponent pops up, it's strange that she can bear it. He is still the same as before, his temper is still so bad. Akamichi took the wind and sighed. I mean, the village needs to respond, but we can slow down and see what happens in Sand Shinobi Village and Iwa Ninja Village first. Sand Shinobi Village took the initiative to provoke the war, but chose to fight without declaring it, which means that they do not want to bear the infamy. Now that the opportunity has come, they must not be able to bear it. There is no need for the Iwa Shinobi Village to show off, but Inoki has a bad temper. Great. Akamichi Tafing made it very clear, Sand Shinobi Village just doesn't want to bear the notoriety and stand out. That doesn't mean they don't need opportunities. Now is the opportunity, because Rain Shinobi Village has been fooled by the leader. No matter how the war is fought, as long as there is no declaration of war on the surface, there will not be too much blame. On the contrary, Rain Shinobi Village jumped out and declared war on the 3 major ninja villages. This incident caused an uproar in the ninja world. Someone took advantage of it and got the opportunity they had been longing for, and San Shinobi Village couldn't resist it. Compared with the urgency of San Shinobi Village, Konoha does not need to rush to the front so anxiously, just wait and see what happens. After saying that, Akamichi took a hidden look at Koharu, who was sleeping, and sighed helplessly in his heart. Ever since he was pushed up and sat in the Hokage's assistant position, Koharu's temper had become increasingly grumpy. But if you think about it, you can understand. Originally, the medical system of the village was in the hands of others, but then he came up and took the medical system away by force. Can you not be angry about this? It was not greatly affected, and Mito Minyin, who still manages the logistics department, is still the same. Although he wanted to drive Akamichi Kaifeng away, he was not as hostile to Akamichi Kaifeng as Koharu was when he moved to bed. It's not that Mito Kadoba has a good temper, but because his rights are not divided up. If Akamichi takes advantage of the logistics department instead of the medical system department, the person who will be furious will not be Koharu, but Mito Monitis. Humph, fatty, you are getting weaker and weaker. Go to bed. Koharu admitted that Akamichi's idea of taking the wind was reasonable, but she was not convinced. Mito Minyin smiled and said nothing. Koharu. Third Hokage can only remind Koharu to go to bed. It's okay to lose your temper, but you can't bring your personal emotions to work. I think Fatty's suggestion is very good. Since San Shinobi Village can't wait, let's just wait and see what happens. Besides, Inoki is really not a good-tempered person. As long as San Shinobi Village declares war head-on, Inoki will definitely be stimulated. The meeting ended and Akamichi took the lead and left first. Go to bed, Koharu said dissatisfied. Hiruzen, is it true that Danzo cannot be released? The fat man is now Tsunade's man. With him around, there are many obstacles among the top management. No. The third Hokage shook his head and sighed. Tsunade has confessed. She will not allow Danzo to come out, even if he changes his identity. Danzo used information to win over Hanzo, to assassinate Shizuchi, and gave it to her. A big thrill. But go to bed, Koharu is still unwilling. She doesn't care if Danzo Shimura can be released, what she cares about is whether the various departments within the medical system can get him back. That's it for now. After a while, I will talk to Tsunade personally. There are many system departments in Konoha, but few departments can compare in importance to the medical department. Even if the third Hokage wanted to compensate Koharu by moving to a dormitory, he couldn't come up with anything very good. It is impossible for Tsunade to give up the medical department, unless other departments comparable to the medical department are transferred to Tsunade's control. The only ones that can be compared with the medical department are the logistics department, the finance department, and Umbu. The logistics department is in charge of Mito Monitis. Does it make sense to take it out and change it to the medical department? No. As for the Ministry of Finance and Umbu, they cannot be moved. Umbu is okay and can be controlled by Tsunade, but the Ministry of Finance is really not good. Once Tsunade takes control of the Ministry of Finance, many shady things in the Ministry of Finance will be exposed. By then, his reputation as Sarutobi Hiruzen would be really ruined. Maybe ask Tsunade to replace it? There are many departments under the medical system, so Tsunade can swap some out and give them to Koharu, who is transferred to her dormitory, as compensation for her, and then transfer to Koharu to merge and manage the logistics department, so that the situation at the top can be stabilized. The Ministry of Finance cannot be moved, and he can transfer half of Umbu's power to Tsunade. Umbu is a direct department controlled by Hokage. Even if it is half controlled by Tsunade, it will not have much influence on him. On the 5th day after Rain Shinobi Village declared war on the 3 major ninja villages, San Shinobi Village also took the opportunity to rise up and declare war on Rain Shinobi Village, Konoha, and Iwa Ninja Village. The stimulated Iwa Shinobi Village also jumped out and declared war on San Shinobi Village, Konoha, and Rain Shinobi Village. Konoha, which was finally stable, also chose to declare war on several forces. San Shinobi Village, Iwa Ninja Village, and Rain Shinobi Village did not escape. As the 3 major ninja villages and Rain Shinobi Village declared war on several forces, the prelude to the Second Ninja War was kicked off. Konoha, San Shinobi Village, and Iwa Ninja Village continue to send reinforcements to the Rain country, and the war becomes more and more intense. the village entered a state of war, and the cloud of war enveloped the entire ninja world. Countries and villages everywhere were affected directly or indirectly. A large number of reinforcements rushed to the front line, and the three major ninja villages invested more than 2,000 troops on the battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain. Don't underestimate the number of 2,000 ninjas. 2,000 ninjas gathered together are enough to fight a large-scale ninja war. After finishing her busy day, Tsunade went to the tavern where she usually had dinner with Orochimaru and Jiraiya. Third Hokage has been waiting here for a long time. The table was filled with food and Tsunade's favorite wine. Tsunade sat carelessly across from the third Hokage, picked up a bottle of wine and poured herself a glass. After drinking it in one gulp, her tense nerves relaxed a little, and then she said, "That old woman is making trouble with you again." Transferring to bed, Koharu has always wanted to take back the various departments of the medical system. Tsunade knew this, but she ignored him. The third Hokage smiled lightly, took a sip of wine, and said, "Tsunade, the village's medical system covers many departments. I think some can be released." "Oh?" Tsunade said curiously, "Old man, how are you going to compensate me, the logistics department or the finance department?" Ahem. Third Hokage was immediately choked. Although there were many departments in the medical system, their importance was on the same level as the logistics department and the finance department. He could bring out these two departments, and there was no need to talk about compensation. Isn't this unnecessary? It gives you control over half of Umbu. After calming down for a while, the three major Hokage stated their terms of exchange. Umbu? Old man, you don't have a fever, do you? Dare Umbu hand it over? Although it is half, this half means that Tsunade can intervene in many things, and she is not allowed to turn Umbu into her own exclusive department. Episode 77. What I want is not half of Umbu, but all of it. Yes, Umbu, you can keep some of the departments under the medical system and let Koharu manage the rest. This is my last concession. Go to bed. Koharu is not a peaceful master. If his rights are cut off, he won't be able to get them back for a long time. Maybe something ugly will happen. And third Hokage doesn't want to see such a situation. I knew it. Tsunade frowned, said nothing, and ate with chopsticks. The third Hokage didn't urge them, and the master and apprentice just ate their meal quietly. After having enough wine and food, and putting down her chopsticks with satisfaction, Tsunade stood up and left, leaving a message when she walked to the third Hokage. Give me a few days to think about it. The third Hokage nodded in agreement. Tsunade didn't refuse directly, which meant that the matter could be discussed. As long as Koharu remains stable, the high-level power of the village will still be concentrated together. Even if the Hokage faction has been divided into two factions, at least in the direction of major events, the goals of the two factions are the same. After returning home and looking at Kushina's homework, Tsunade returned to the room and recorded what the third Hokage said in the scroll. Help me send this scroll to the frontline camp and give it to Jingyi, so that he can reply to me as soon as possible. Ever since Jingyi settled down as the dog-headed strategist in the family, Tsunade has been too lazy to think about these things and just left them to Jingyi to deal with. She knew very well that Jingyi's thinking was sharper than hers in this regard. Capture the key points better. Yes, Tsunade-sama. Katsuyu, who was channeled, wrapped his body around the scroll and disappeared into the room. In the evening, while practicing sage jutsu in Shikatsu Forest, Shizuchi, who was about to return to the ninja world, got the scroll. Huh. Third Hokage knows how to do business. Half of Umbu's rights are exchanged for more departments in the medical system, so that Koharu can be transferred to a stable bed. This old woman has been uneasy recently. Secretly and openly, they hope that third Hokage will release the troublemaker Shimura Danzo is. It can be seen that she is anxious. After holding power for more than 10 years, his power suddenly disappeared, and no one could accept the change. It's understandable that Koharu would be anxious about going to bed. But Umbu has half the rights, he doesn't even want a dog. Jingyi took out a new scroll, wrote down his thoughts, and then asked the puppet to send the scroll back to the village overnight. Half? No, if you want to give it all. Except for a few teams dedicated to protecting Hokage, the rest must be in hand. Only in this way can there be exchange value, and the pharmaceutical department under the medical system needs to be in hand. This department is too important to let go. As for other departments, they can be transferred to Koharu. As long as you control the pharmaceutical department, other departments in the medical system will be your younger brothers, and they all need to look at the face of the pharmaceutical department. And Tsunade can get rid of the big burden of training medical ninjas. You go to bed, doesn't Koharu like to mess around? Okay, then I'll give you all these departments, and let's see how you do it. Anyway, I have the most important pharmaceutical department in my hands, and you need to always watch my face. It makes sense for the third Hokage to separate Umbu. He is a Hokage. As long as he stays in the village, his safety will hardly be a problem. Even if Umbu is separated, he still has the right to mobilize Umbu to do things for him. It's just some things that are not on the table and can no longer be left to Umbu's people. So Jingyi opened his mouth like a lion and gave up Umbu? Then give it all up, don't ask for half the rights, I want them all. Moreover, all departments of the medical system will not be handed over. We must control the most important pharmaceutical department ourselves. If it works, everyone will be happy. If it doesn't work, everything will continue as usual. They are not the ones who are anxious anyway. Tsunade controls all departments of the medical system, which makes Shimura Danzo very uncomfortable, but Tsunade controls the pharmaceutical department and Umbu. Shimura Danzo has almost no capital to turn around. A department like Umbu must either have full control or not have it, otherwise holding half of the power is no different than having none at all. Only by holding the entire Umbu in your hands can you have the right to select people to enter Umbu, and only then can you have the ability to train Umbu ninjas. At this point, the people in Umbu will listen to you obediently and express their loyalty to you. Otherwise, no matter how well you do it, it will only serve as a wedding dress for third Hokage. After sending the crow puppet out, Jingyi lay on the bed and fell asleep quickly. He had mastered the balance point of natural energy. As long as he kept it up, he would be able to successfully enter the Sage Jutsu Chakra mode in a short time. By then, he will be considered a graduate. Otherwise, Jingyi is worried that he will die suddenly if he goes through all kinds of tossing during the day and night for a long time. The puppet crow delivered the scroll to Tsunade at dawn. There is not one scroll, but two. One of them is an information scroll, and the other is a seal scroll. In the seal scroll, there are several flying puppets specially used to transmit information, including crow puppets and eagle puppets. Sometimes it is more convenient for puppets to convey messages than psychic beasts. After getting the scroll, Tsunade understood Shizuchi's intention. She felt that the third Hokage would have to bleed heavily this time. Most people don't have the courage to hand over all Umbu's power. It's a pity that it was left to Tsunade. If it were another person, the third Hokage would never agree. Because of the master-disciple relationship and Tsunade's special status, the third Hokage could safely hand over Umbu to her. Others, the third Hokage, did not dare to do this. Even the other members of the F4 team can only mobilize Umbu at most, but cannot control Umbu. That is when Shimura Danzo established the route, he used Umbu's power to continuously infiltrate Umbu's members. Coupled with the third Hokage turning a blind eye, this resulted in the ambitious Shimura Danzo wielding great power. It can be said that Shimura Danzo's expansion is based on Umbu. Without Umbu's assistance, Shimura Danzo would still be incarcerated. Even if he was released and established his roots, he would still be a younger brother. Tsunade controls Umbu, and she will definitely not allow members of the Gen to do things under the banner of Umbu, let alone use the same costumes and equipment as Umbu. This is really a discredit to Umbu. After knowing Jingyi's arrangement, Tsunade was no longer anxious. After dragging it out for a few days, it wasn't until the third Hokage couldn't wait any longer and approached her again that Tsunade put forward her conditions. In the medical system, except for the pharmaceutical department, other departments can be left to you to arrange, but I want to master Umbu, not half, I want all. The third Hokage was very happy when Tsunade said that most departments in the medical system could be released, but at the end of the hearing, the smile on his face gradually solidified. Tsunade's appetite is a bit big, and the production department within the medical system has to hold on to it, as well as the entire Umbu. You must know that for a department like Umbu, giving half and giving everything are completely different things. Give him half, and he, third Hokage, can take it back at any time. Even if Tsunade deploys many people, he can take it all back when he makes up his mind. Everything is different. Episode 78. Umbu and money, I still know the importance. If the selection, training, mission execution, etc. are all in Tsunade's hands, then he, the Hokage, will only have the right to transfer. It can be said that Umbu will become Tsunade's Yayantang. Impossible. The third Hokage said excitedly, Tsunade, Umbu is a direct department under the Hokage. You are equivalent to splitting Umbu out and making it completely under your own control. So what? Tsunade flicked her palm away and asked. If I can't have all of Umbu in my hands, why should I exchange interests with you, old man? Just keep everything as usual. You came to talk to me first. Third Hokage. I came to talk to you first, but I didn't expect you to have such a big appetite. No, it should be Hyuga Jinjichi. This kid has almost become Tsunade's planner. No, only half. Just be happy. This is the bottom line. You can't give in even one step. Once you give in, someone will take advantage of it. The next step is to take advantage of the pharmaceutical department. Jingyi has written all these interests in the scroll. The bottom line is that you will never give in. Not a single step should be given. The third Hokage was a little excited and made it clear that he didn't want to hand over Umbu. Tsunade didn't really care. She preferred the entire medical system to Umbu, etc. Seeing that Tsunade was about to leave, without any intention of continuing the conversation, the third Hokage gritted his teeth and said, Umbu can be given to you, but the pharmaceutical department must hand it over. Impossible. Tsunade slammed the table hard and said angrily. Old man, don't think of me as an idiot. I have developed many drugs in the pharmaceutical department, and when the old woman was managing it, there were problems with the entire department's accounts. I didn't mention this, which is enough to give you face. It's impossible to hand over the pharmaceutical department. There's no need to discuss this. If you don't want to, just pretend we haven't discussed it. Have a problem with the pharmaceutical department's accounts? The third Hokage is not a fool, he wakes up immediately. Transferring to a dormitory, Koharu controls all departments of the medical system, and Mito Menyen controls the logistics department, which will definitely bring some benefits to himself. It should be for the family behind it. Because he controls the Ministry of Finance and is doing this kind of thing. Is there really nothing left to talk about? After the bad debt was revealed, third Hokage calmed down and even his tone became much softer. Tsunade sneered, okay, in the past, I developed various drugs without taking any share from the village. I can leave the pharmaceutical department to you, but please return the share to me. In the future, I will develop new drugs, and I will also give it to you. Need to give. Come on, don't you want the pharmaceutical department? Give me money. In the past, when I asked you to have sex for free, you thought I was a member of the village, so it was free of charge. But in the end, you all got into trouble with me, right? Then let's calculate this account carefully. Orochimaru gets a lot of money for developing some electrical appliances. I, Tsunade, only get a small bonus for developing various medicines and potions. What do you think? Ahem. The third Hokage suddenly lost his composure. Let him settle the score with Tsunade and switch the production and research and development of various drugs to a share-sharing model, which will cost him his life. Compared with the small amount of money Orochimaru got, Tsunade's side is the big one. If we really want to give this money, it will definitely empty the treasury, which is more terrifying than giving Kushina a street directly. Even though Tsunade has only been in the medical department for a few years, Tsunade's talent in developing drugs and potions is as terrifying as Senju Tobarama's developing ninjutsu. Grandfather and grandson are all high-yield people. During this period, a large number of medicines were produced, bringing countless wealth to the village. Once the model is changed to sharing, Tsunade will definitely become a tycoon. Ahem. Tsunade, the Ministry of Finance is not well off. Let's do this. You should continue to manage the pharmaceutical department and leave other departments to Koharu. As for Umbu, it's up to you. As long as you can guarantee the safety of the old man and me. In order to prevent Tsunade from asking for money, the third Hokage decisively cut through the mess quickly and settled the matter. Not even the Hokage escorts were mentioned. What are the escorts and not the escorts? Talking about these hurts feelings. They are also a part of Umbu and they are all left to your management. Looking at the third Hokage leaving in a hurry and looking a little embarrassed, Tsunade made a disdainful sound. Hiruzen, what's the result? The third Hokage hurriedly returned to the Hokage office and stayed in the Hokage office waiting for his transfer. Koharu and Mito Kabuto looked over eagerly. Huh. Sitting on the Hokage's exclusive chair, the third Hokage exhaled heavily. He did not reply to his two companions immediately. Instead, he picked up his pipe and smoked hard for a while. Tsunade wanted money, which really scared him. The main reason is that Tsunade has become more serious and plans to fight to the end, so that the village really spends a lot of money. It's done, but the pharmaceutical department is still managed by Tsunade. How can that be done? The pharmaceutical department is. Koharu. The third Hokage scolded with a sullen face. Tsunade knows all about some of the things you did in the past. She almost took the matter out and dealt with it. You are still keeping an eye on the pharmaceutical department? Don't talk nonsense, I didn't. Koharu retorted hard, but his tone was a bit weak. Mito Manabu raised his head and looked at the ceiling, pretending not to hear this, because he who manages the logistics department is not much better. It can only be said that compared to third Hokage, he is not that excessive. Get some benefits, but not much. And have you ever thought about how many drugs and potions Tsunade has developed in the past few years? Once she insists on sharing the profits, how much money do you think the village will need to share with her? That's all my money. Mine. Don't you want umbu? For you. Want money? No, not a cent. For money, third Hokage could give up umbu. So be it. There was too much oil and water in the pharmaceutical department and Kwanchin Koharu was a little unwilling to get it back. The lack of oil and water is one thing. The key problem is that the pharmaceutical department is not in control, and the entire medical system has to act based on Tsunade's face. Although I am not reconciled, this is already the best result. Otherwise, if Tsunade makes a fuss, the three of them will walk around without food. The third Hokage picked up the pipe and continued to smoke, trying hard to calm down his emotions. This will always be like this from now on. Umbu will be handed over to Tsunade, and Tsunade will control it all. Don't make any other troubles. As for Danzo, I will transfer him to Konoha prison. Umbu was handed over to Tsunade, and the third Hokage did not dare to keep Shimura Danzo in Umbu's prison. He was afraid that Shimura Danzo would die in there one day out of nowhere. It would be better to put him in jail. Episode 79. Instead of looking for Tsunade, it's better to look for Hyuga Jingyi. In the future, unless there is an excellent opportunity, don't mention the release of Danzo again. If you mention it once, it will irritate Tsunade once. By the way, if you want to talk about things, you don't have to go to Fatty and Tsunade. Finally, third Hokage reminded the two of them. Stop being stupid, otherwise it will be difficult for everyone. Why? Tsunade holds the power, Akamichi takes the position of assisting the Hokage. Who are they looking for if not them? The third Hokage had a complicated expression. Business matters remain as usual, private matters, see Jingyi. Soon, a simple meeting was held in the Hokage office building. In view of Tsunade's ability, the third Hokage proposed to transfer Umbu to her management. After taking control of Umbu, Tsunade also handed over all other departments in the medical system except the pharmaceutical department to the management of Koharu. When third Hokage announced the news, everyone in the conference room was stunned. The importance of the pharmaceutical department is self-evident. No matter how well your other departments develop, as long as the pharmaceutical department is stuck, it can kill you. Not to mention Umbu, this is a department directly under the Hokage, only under the Hokage's control, and now it is all handed over to Tsunade. Hiss. Tsunade Heim will have more and more power and voice in the village from now on. Among the group of people, only Akamichi, the old god of wind, was there. Instead of being surprised, he was a little happy. Fortunately, Umbu was handed over to Tsunade instead of to him openly. Tsunade was secretly in control. If that were the case, then Akamichi would still be on fire. Now, Umbu is under the direct control of Tsunade, and Akamichi continues to be his empty-handed Hokage assistant, which is equivalent to sitting in a leisurely position, which is really cool. The situation in the village changed, and Jingyi quickly received the news. Jingyi laughed out loud when he learned that the third Hokage didn't even want to manage the escort team. Money is indeed a good thing, and the third Hokage also has to worry about it. The third Hokage is scared to death that Tsunade will ask him for money. Otherwise, Umbu would not be handed over so happily, and even the Hokage escort team would not be needed, and everything would be arranged by Tsunade. Did something interesting happen? Orochimaru once again came to deliver the puppet. After placing the 2 seal scrolls on the table, he poured a glass of water. Haha, something interesting happened in the village. Jingyi smiled and handed the information scroll to Orochimaru for him to read while he put away the 2 seal scrolls that Orochimaru had brought. Not bad, not bad. With this batch, the number of puppets in his hand has exceeded the 1,500 mark. Once these puppets are thrown out, the scene will be absolutely shocking. Orochimaru is indeed a good partner. Huh. Looking at the scroll, Orochimaru said in surprise, the old man actually let Tsunade control the entire Umbu? Saying that, Orochimaru continued to read. When he saw Tsunade saying that the third Hokage was afraid that she would ask for money, so he decisively handed over Umbu, the expression on Orochimaru's face became wonderful. After holding it in for a while, he still couldn't help laughing. Ha ha ha, that's interesting. It's quite interesting. Jingyi raised his eyebrows. With the outbreak of the war, money has to be spent everywhere, and the village's finances are definitely not that optimistic. If Tsunade wants money, our Hokage-sama will definitely die of panic. If it were any other person, third Hokage would have dared to tell him to get out, but Tsunade was different. Her demand for money was reasonable and legal. You know how much money the village has made from the drugs and potions I developed. I didn't care before, but now that I want the money, you have to give it to me. No matter who handles this matter, they will not think that Tsunade is being unreasonable. It was third Hokage who was at fault. After laughing for a while, Orochimaru put down the scroll and said to Jingyi, Jingyi, our cooperation may be terminated. The situation on the battlefield in the Kingdom of Rain is unstable. The old man hopes that I can enter the battlefield and lead the people in the village to fight. Orochimaru is also good at commanding operations, but at this stage he has not been recognized by the top management, so he can only be allowed to enter the battlefield to command small-scale operations. The general direction still needs to be controlled by the veteran Nara Lushin. Good. Jingyi didn't force it. After all, the village's appointment came, and Orochimaru could no longer stay in the medical room as an assistant and squat in the morgue making puppets all day long. I already have more than 1,000 puppets in my hand, which is enough. In the worst case, you can just do it slowly by yourself in the future. There is no need to rush this matter. After all, he does not need to go to the battlefield to fight for his life. Unless the war reaches the point of defeat, Jingyi will not enter the battlefield. Guaranteeing victory on the battlefield in the Land of Rain is Shizuchi's promise to Tsunade. As more and more reinforcements arrived, the camp became more lively than before. Of course, chaos was relative. In order to manage the camp well, Nara lost her hair. Are you here to beat the autumn wind? Jingyi gritted his teeth and stared at the three people devouring their food, feeling the urge to kick them out. In order to build a relationship with him, Nara Lushin specially gave him the privilege of running a small stove and taking more care of him. As a result, as soon as the meal was ready, 3 bandits came. Orochimaru smiled lightly and ate leisurely. Jiraiya licked his face and said a few words of apology, and ate harder than anyone else. Only Hatake Tsukumo felt a little uncomfortable. He and Shizuchi were not familiar with each other. In order to cope with the fierce confrontation of the war, Nara Lushin made a series of arrangements. The first and most obvious thing is the formation of elite vanguard troops. Formed by 3 new generation powerhouses, including Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Hatake Tsukumo, plus a group of elite ninjas, this team will become the absolute main force on the battlefield. Responsible for blocking powerful enemies from all forces. In the original book, Konoha also formed such a team, but the 3 leaders were Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru. Tsunade was in charge of the village and did not go to the battlefield, so her vacancy was taken by Hatake Tsukumo. And Hatake Tsukumo is still the captain. He is older than Orochimaru and Jiraiya, and his strength is not weaker than the 2. He becomes the captain, and Orochimaru and Jiraiya have no objection to this. The 2 can position themselves correctly. There will be no conflict with Hatake Tsukumo over this kind of thing. After giving Jiraiya a disgusted look, Orochimaru sold him out without hesitation. The team will enter the battlefield tomorrow, so Jiraiya proposed to come to your place for a dinner, and you happen to be cooking. Ahem. Jiraiya almost choked to death while eating the meat. Episode 80. Chio, why is this Hyuga Shizuchi more annoying than Tsunade? Jiraiya slapped his chest hard several times, swallowed the meat in his mouth, and roared at Orochimaru. It's my suggestion, but don't you agree? Why are you blaming me alone now? Because you look the most ugly when you eat. He made some remarks in disgust. Shizuchi said to Hatake Tsukumo, seniors don't have to feel restricted. This is how I get along with them. No, I just... Hatake Tsukumo smiled coquettishly and wanted to explain, but the words of explanation could not come out. Because he has resentment against Jingyi. He almost died in the previous incident. Although Jingyi was trying to save him, anyone who encounters this kind of thing would be depressed for a while. Except for the shameless ones like Jiraiya. He was regarded as a pervert, but he turned around and forgot about it within a few days. Jingyi smiled and raised his cup. Senior, I wish you success. Thank you. Hatake Sakumo felt a lot more relaxed. Coupled with Jiraiya's teasing, the atmosphere became lively, and the little dissatisfaction in Hatake Sakumo's heart had long since dissipated without a trace. It's just that he is not good at words. He spends most of his time just like Orochimaru, sitting quietly aside with a smile on his face, listening to Shizuchi and Jiraiya bickering. Orochimaru doesn't like to talk because he doesn't want to talk too much to Jiraiya. If he was asked to chat with Jingyi, he would talk more than Jiraiya. As for Hatake Sakumo, he has an honest character. If it weren't for his honest character and the influence of the so-called samurai spirit, this guy wouldn't have chosen to commit suicide because of a small design by Shimura Danzo and a little bit of public opinion, leaving his helpless son to bear the darkness and live alone. After the meal was finished, Hatake Sakumo and Orochimaru left first, while Jiraiya refused to leave. You don't need to guess what he wants to say. After Jiraiya and Hatake Sakumo left, Jiraiya smiled obscenely and handed over a stack of manuscripts. Jingyi couldn't help but rolled his eyes. Farewell, I believe in your level. There is no need to read this manuscript. You can just ask someone to send it back to the village. When it is printed, it will definitely become a hit. Ha ha ha, I believe I can do it too. Jiraiya started to feel a little restless, and walked away happily holding the manuscript. In order to prevent the manuscript from getting wet from the rain, he even bent over, like a hunchback, to block the manuscript. After sending the three people away, Jingyi took out a blank scroll and started writing some changes and plans about Umbu. This was what Tsunade wanted. She didn't want to worry about it, so she just gave it to Jingyi. Regarding the changes in Umbu, Jingyi did not make any effective suggestions. After all, it is during the war and the people in Umbu are very busy. In addition to strictly guarding the village to prevent spies from cholera, it is also necessary to go deep into the battlefield to collect intelligence everywhere. Umbu should maintain its original order until the end of the war. As for changes, they should be postponed until the end of the war. On the other side, in the camp of Sand Shinobi Village, Chiyo became increasingly dissatisfied with the village's war gains. Is it Hyuga again? Chiyo, who originally didn't regard Shizuchi as a piece of cake, began to take him seriously. Before the war broke out, among all the medical ninjas in Konoha, only Tsunade was attracted by Chiyo. Tsunade's claim to being the Chiyo killer is no joke. Chiyo would be restrained in every aspect if she bumped into Tsunade. As a result, when the war started, Tsunade did not show up, but Shizuchi, who caused Shimura Danzo to stumble, stepped onto the stage. Could he become the second Tsunade? Thinking that all kinds of poisons currently used in the village have been cracked and corresponding antidotes are constantly being developed, Chiyo feels irritable. Without the threat of poison, the lethality of Sand Shinobi Village's puppet troops will be greatly reduced. Among all puppets, except for some special puppets, the most lethal attack of a puppet is poison. Various poisonous needles, poisonous stings, and poisonous blades will be poisoned as long as they are injured in battle. Once poisoned, the balance of victory in the battle will begin to tilt. As soon as the antidote was released, these advantages of the puppet ninja were gone. No matter how large the area covered by poisonous needles or stings, they cannot poison the enemy to death, and most of the wounds caused are not fatal. If possible, this guy must be eliminated. Medical ninjas like Tsunade and Shizuchi pose too great a threat to Sand Shinobi Village. The puppet army will not be able to exert its original deterrence and lethality, and its strength will be greatly reduced compared to Sand Shinobi Village. In addition to puppet ninjas, the environment of the Rain Country will cause a large number of Sand Shinobi Village ninjas to be restricted. Most of the ninjas in Cloud Ninjutsu are good at lightning-style ninjutsu, while IWA ninjutsu is good at earth-style ninjutsu. There are many ninjas in Sand Shinobi Village who are good at wind-style ninjutsu, but wind-style ninjutsu will be suppressed by the weather and environment in a ghost place like the Land of Rain. After putting an X on Jingyi's information, Chiyo rubbed her temples and asked, "How did the IWA Ninja Village respond?" The ninja responsible for the report looked embarrassed. "Chiyo-sama, IWA Ninja Village did not give us any reply. A bunch of idiots. Just as stubborn and stupid as Anoki." Hear the words. Chiyo started to curse. The war on the battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain is a chaotic battle mode. Although several parties have declared war on each other, the declaration of war openly does not mean that they cannot unite secretly. Chiyo wanted to unite with the IWA Ninja Village and give Konoha a hard blow. As a result, IWA Ninja Village ignored her at all. "Declare war on us first, beat us to the point of losing our minds, then turn your back and ask us to jointly attack Konoha? Where is the face? Where did you put the face of your Chiyo old woman?" Just stuff it into your crotch if you don't want it. If you are shameless, our IWA ninja village will still want it. Chiyo's face turned red with anger as he kept cursing. He is indeed Anoki's son, and his temper is as bad as his lousy. Just as stubborn. If the commander sent by the IWA ninja village to the rain country was someone else, maybe Chiyo's secret contact would still be effective, but the person who came was Huan-Tu, Anoki's son. Even though Huan-Tu is a temperless son in front of Anoki, on the outside, besides being calm, Huan-Tu's prejudice and stubbornness are exactly the same as Anoki's. Therefore, Chiyo's joint plan was shattered at the beginning. Huan-Tu ignored her at all. This is Rain Shinobi Village. Chiyo took a deep breath and put the IWA Shinobi Village out of his mind. Since they can't unite, they should just treat them as enemies. The reporting ninja replied cautiously, Sanshuyu Hanzo's focus is still on us, which may have a lot to do with the previous revenge. Okay, let's get down. The more I listen to it, the more upsetting it becomes. Chiyo waved his hand impatiently and asked everyone in the tent to get out. He needed some quiet time. Anoki is an old stubborn, Lus is a little stubborn, Sancho Fish Hanzo is a dog, chasing after San Shinobi Village, and keeps biting.